The wait may finally be over. 10 days after he was named Prime Minister, Francois Bayrou has formed his cabinet. The French presidency set to make the announcement of the makeup of the country's new government at 6:30 p.m. local time. This would be the country's fourth government this year. Let's cross now straight live to Antonia Kerrigan, who is at the Élysée Palace, where the government will be announced by the Secretary General, Alexis Kohler. It's been 10 days now since Francois Bayrou was named Prime Minister, and yet we are still waiting. There was some announcements, some delays. Why has it been so difficult to come up with a government?
Well, it's the same problem they were, of course, having this summer. There is no clear majority in Parliament, so they're trying to put together a unity government. But the problem is they precluded large swathes of lawmakers from that. They precluded the far right on the basis that the far right do not correspond to Republican values, as they put it. And they've also precluded the hard left party France Unbowed, because they also consider that they don't correspond with Republican values. But the problem is only a small sliver remains after the other left-wing parties have said that they don't wish to participate in this government. They think it's unfair that they have not been asked to govern themselves after, of course, emerging the most successful party in this summer's legislative elections. And they don't agree with what they see as Francois Bayrou's political agenda. So with quite a narrow pool of people available to be appointed as ministers, quite a politically narrow spectrum, Francois Bayrou's challenge is to find a lineup that nevertheless sends sufficiently positive signals to these different groups outside of his government to avoid that same fate that befell, of course, the most recent Prime Minister, France's most short-lived Prime Minister in the Fifth Republic, Michel Barnier.
Now, there have been plenty of names that have been floated around for this new government. What do we know about the makeup of this cabinet, or what should we be looking out for in the announcement?
Well, we know that there will be some, you could say, survivors from the last government. We expect the health minister, the culture minister, the army minister to be sticking around. Also, more of a headline choice was what we expect to see Bruno Retailleau sticking around. He is, of course, the Minister for the Interior, and he is widely considered to be very much on the rightermost flank of the traditional conservative right-wing party, Les Républicains. He is known for taking quite hard stances on issues like immigration and law and order. So he is a choice that the left has railed against, and he looks like perhaps an early sign that Francois Bayrou is not particularly looking to court the left through his nominations to government. Another news item that has just fallen is Xavier Bertrand from the Republican Party also was a name being thrown around a lot in the last day. He is a self-proclaimed enemy of the National Rally. Despite being right-wing himself, he's very anti-far right. And if he had been appointed, it would have been an act somewhat of defiance to the far right. But he has just published recently in the last few moments on the platform X that having had the idea floated to him, the offer has been withdrawn because the National Rally refused to entertain it. So that's also an early indicator that Francois Bayrou is not so much courting the left and is very worried about the threat of being overthrown by National Rally votes.
Antonia Kerrigan, they're reporting from outside the Élysée Palace, and will, of course, be crossing back to Antonia as soon as we get the announcement of this new French government.